Welcome to our WOF Expo podcast where we talk about the latest news and trends in the logistics and supply chain. Today we have a special guest here who has a strong ambition to change the way export is prioritized in Slovakia. I would like to welcome here Mr. Zulf Hyatt-Khan, who is the special advisor of the Council of Slovak Exporters. Welcome, Mr. Hyatt.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Please, can you tell us a bit about yourself and about your position at the Council of Slovak Exporters?
Absolutely. So my name is Zulf, as you mentioned, and I'm English, and I moved to Slovakia about four or 5 years ago after having spent the lion's share of the last 10, 11 years in the Middle East, working in various sectors and in various industries. And it took a while for me to understand how to navigate the work environment in Slovakia. And I came across this project. Lukas Parizek mentioned this project to me actually last year, and his ambition to change the way export was viewed from both a Slovak perspective and from an outside perspective on how Slovakia has been perhaps not as prioritized as other European countries. And he asked me if I'd like to come on board and help using my experience specifically in the Middle East and other parts of Europe, and seeing if we could facilitate any of the issues that some of the Slovak exporters have here and trying to help them with their ambitions abroad. So it's been an exciting time. We have managed to do a considerable amount we've reached a lot of milestones very quickly, and we hope we're changing the way export is viewed, certainly at home, and putting Slovakia on the map.
It's certainly a great initiative, which we are very excited about as well. And could you mention to us maybe some of the most interesting or the most exciting projects that you've been assigned to so far?
So I saw when you sent the questions earlier that this was, I like to see all of it as an exciting project. There are a lot of state institutions or semi-state institutions and NGOs that focus on different areas. You've got foreign trade, you've got internal investment, and really export has been neglected. And it represents the largest portion of Slovak GDP. So if we put that in perspective, about 85–90% of Slovak GDP is from export, and yet not much is given in terms of emphasis, certainly at government level, in terms of how much this should be prioritized. And of that 85–90%, the largest portion of that is also within the European Union. So as an organization, the Council of Slovak Exporters is committed to trying to bring the issues of export into the mainstream. So when you ask about a specific project, I see the whole of this organization as a specific project. In terms of who we've attracted as members, we look at Medirex, we look at Innobat, we look at Alitair, we have Powerology, Maxport. We have some of the greatest companies currently doing good things here in Slovakia who are looking to get their voice heard on an international market. We believe there's a lot of talent here, and there are a lot of companies that deserve a wider audience and could be really successful, certainly in areas like America. Divas Drink, another one of our members, they export to the United States. So, there are a lot of companies who don't get internal credit for what they're doing. So we're trying to raise awareness. We're trying to make sure that these companies get a broader access. And of course, yes, we are a platform for communication. So our exporters get in touch with us. If they have concerns, we push them towards events. We link them with honorary consuls. We liaise with state institutions, financial institutions when they're looking for potential investments. Of course, we're non-partisan, so we don't actively facilitate their help promoting their businesses abroad, but where we can provide assistance, we do. So in terms of one project, I wouldn't say there is specifically one area that I would like to say that is particularly exciting and like to see the whole business. We're a startup, essentially. What we've achieved in a year is extraordinary. In terms of things that we offer, absolutely love the fact that we offer a weekly news roundup that covers the political spectrum, export, economy, and also we offer a podcast as well. And in fact we had WOF Expo in this week, and your MD was one of our guests on our weekly podcast. So we offer all sorts of things to our members, and we're trying to raise awareness and get support as we go along. So I see it as a startup, and we've only got one way to go.
Amazing. So you support startups as well. Can you tell us about advantages the startup gets in terms of what you offer?
Again, in terms of helping startups, as we're non-partisan, what we can only do is that if we have any of our members who join who are startups, we can help point them in the way of financial institutions. We're partnered with Slovenská sporiteľňa and various insurance companies as well, and we can connect them to those parties should they want to go down that route. But the startup environment here in Slovakia is actually quite a healthy one. Lots of tech and innovation in fact, tech and innovation is one of the strongest sectors currently. Lots of talent here, again, not being exported. So, they come to us, they have discussions, where can they get investment? Again, that's more internal investment as opposed to export. But we see export as a broader thing. It can be exporting a brand through investment outside. So we help them by providing them with contacts for people that will be of assistance through our network. But again, we don't help individual companies as that's not really a part of our remit. But whatever we can do at this stage, we do.
So it's safe to say you work as a bridge, kind of, between.
Absolutely. We're a conduit, an interlocutor. So people who need that facilitation, and you know what? There's been a lot of distrust in state institutions for many years. That's not really a concern of mine, but I understand that Slovak businesses have been let down in the past by looking for financing or simply not knowing where to go. And again, we provide that information for them. Whilst we might not take them to the water and teach them how to drink, we certainly help get them there. And I think we're also mending those gaps with those state institutions as well. We work closely with various government organizations, and we bring awareness to them. So we don't like to see ourselves in competition with anyone, but we'd like to see ourselves, as you said, a bridge, and bringing the private sector closer to the public sector. And if we can help in any way, we do.
Great, thank you, Zulf. And let's go back a little bit to the export and the trade now. So how do you evaluate the trade performance of Slovakia compared to its peers, and what can be improved slightly?
That's a really big question. Well, I think, first let's focus on the positives. We know that manufacturing and the automotive sector here are extremely strong areas, and have been the backbone of the GDP here in Slovakia for quite some time. But I think that also causes a problem. There's an over-reliance perhaps in these areas. I think where there's room for improvement, there are two areas that stick out specifically for me are diversification, and making sure that the over-reliance on those sectors that I mentioned initially isn't there. So should we look to tourism, for example? I know that's an internal issue, but you have to export tourism. So you have to take brand Slovakia as a country to other places in the world. The Czechs are pretty good at this locally, and regionally there are lots, and Hungary also. You just have to look at Turkey as an example. And I know it's a much bigger country, but they're exceptionally good at branding their country and exporting that for internal tourism. So I think tourism is an area that really interests me. And again, even though that's more of an inflow oriented business, I think exporting brand Slovakia is a key. I think the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Transport have a really big job ahead, and hopefully that EU funding that comes in will help bolster these sectors, because People don't know that Slovakia is an appealing country. And then in terms of other areas, the agri-food business, and I think agriculture and FMCG are areas where there's definitely scope to have these products on a more global level. You look at Maxport, you look at Powerology. They are brands that are well known within the region, but could have much more scope in other areas. And then finally, one of the key issues is branding, and it's a big issue of mine. It's a concern of mine, and it's something that we talk to our members about. Is that not many people know that there are Slovak entities. You just look at ESET, for example. You know, that's global, but do we hear about it outside Slovakia? How do we change that narrative? How do we control the message that there are Slovak businesses that have export potential in much wider markets? And I think that's an internal issue. I think companies need to develop a stronger branding strategy. They need to understand that it's okay to be really, really good at something and tell that message. You know, we are really, really, and that's not traditionally something that's Slovak, or certainly something that I've noticed. In terms of the neighboring countries, I mentioned the Czech Republic and Hungary. They're pretty good at doing this stuff. I don't like to benchmark the Visegrad countries, because each country has its unique selling points. Each country has its unique drivers. Each country has its unique elements that make it different. So, you know, yes, benchmark if you want, but at the same time, focus on what's really, really good here and make sure that message gets across. I'd like to see more Slovak businesses interact with international media and have it less focused nationally. Perhaps also that would mean more people anglicize the way they do business. Make sure that the people who speak English are at the forefront of these organizations, so that you can export the brands. I think that those are the key elements.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, what do you think about positioning the WOF Expo in the Central and Eastern Europe region?
I love it. I think if you look at Globset, for example, you know, there are several events and conferences that happen within Europe that are groundbreaking and that are extraordinary. I think Slovakia has the capacity, if you look at Globsec as an example, to deliver world-class conferences. Globsec boasted however many leaders, prime ministers, presidents, NATO. There's a whole list of attendees, and the event is slick and smooth and as well organized as some of I've been around in Europe, in the UK, and in Dubai as well. So in terms of WOF Expo being, I think the more events we have here in Slovakia, and WOF Expo being, I think the first of its kind for freight, certainly in Central Europe, should be championed. I mentioned this in an interview that I had done with you previously, is that you look at the influence of the Danube, and you go back hundreds of years, and that link between European trade was the Danube. Let's not forget how important connectivity between Central Europe had that conduit. So WOF Expo should be here, and Central Europe is so well connected. I don't see why. I mean, we can go to Croatia, you can go to Austria, you can go to Italy, you can go all around these places, and I don't see why there aren't more events here. But it needs people with courage and ambition to take that leap of faith. And there's always that issue, right? Will people come? How will the pandemic affect it? I'd like to see more events happening. I'd like to see Slovakia spearhead more events. But then again, it goes back to that point. Does the ambition exist to have these events to attract international participants and not just the Visegrad, not just the people that they've been comfortable hosting?
Thank you so much. And I cannot agree more. It is the heart of Europe, and we are very much excited about the event as well. Thank you so much, Zulf, for your time today and a lot of interesting insights provided us. It was really great to talk to you, and until next time.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure, and good luck with everything in the lead up to the event.